Hello everyone and welcome to this new tutorial video about code.org. In this tutorial video, I'm going to teach you how you can use the list variables in your program. So let's start. So first, let me take you through the application that we'll be designing finally. So this is a small student information application in which you can type the information of the students, and then you can also read that information back from the list. Now, remember, this is an application which is using only the list variable. So once you close the application, all that data will be gone because we are not storing the data permanently on the disk. Okay. So let me just give you a quick demo of the app. So when you run the application, you will see this welcome screen. And there are two buttons. This is the right button and this is the read button. So let's click on the right button where you have a student data entry screen. And then I type the student's name here. Let's say John. And then from the drop down, we can select the favorite food and then click on the save student button. Let's type another student name, Michael. Choose a favorite food for Michael. And then finally, I'm typing the third student name here, save student. So now we have saved the data of three students. We click on this back button and we are back on the welcome screen. Let's read the data that we have just added to the list here. And now you can see we have the read screen. Student number one, the name of the student is John. The favorite food is fried chicken. We go to the next student, and then you see the data of the next student. And then finally, the third student data appears on the screen. And if you look at this part of the screen, you can see that the application is using the two list variables to store this data. Okay. So, okay, let me show you how we can start building this application from the scratch. So let's start a new app lab project. And the first thing I want to explain is that why do we need a list variable? What is the need for having a list variable? So let's say I want to make a student information system in which I want to store the names of the students in a class. Okay, so we'll typically create a variable for storing the student name. So let's say this is my student one, and the initial value here is empty. Now, this variable can store only one name at a time because this is just a single variable. So if I want to store the names of two students, then obviously I need to declare another variable, student2, and so on. So if I have, let's say, 25 students in my class, I have to declare 25 variables. And then I have to use 25 blocks to store the data in those variables, and then I need 25 blocks to read the data from those variables. So in all, the program is going to be so much complicated. It's going to be so much lengthy. And another problem is that if I want to store the name of 26 students, then I need to declare a variable, add the block for writing the data, add the block for reading the data. So there is no flexibility. We cannot change the number of students immediately. Okay. So these are all the problems when we use a simple variable. And the use of the simple variable is okay when we have limited amount of data, then actually it is useful to use simple variables. But as the number of data, it keeps on increasing, then using a simple variable approach is no more beneficial. Okay, so let me show you how we can use a list here. So the first thing we need to do is to declare a variable of the list type, and which you can do by using these two blocks here that you can see. So let me just bring up this block here. So it says where list is equal to, and then inside the brackets, you can see there are three values, and then you have a left arrow and a right arrow. So the first thing is that this list is the name of the variable. So I can modify it according to my requirement. I can just say I want to store the variable student name. And these are some of the predefined values. So if you want to give some values to your list before the program starts, we can do it over here. But in our program, we are not having any data stored beforehand. So by the help of this arrow button, you can actually delete the existing values in a list variable. Now this list variable is completely empty. Okay. Now let's understand how a single variable can store multiple values. So if you see this, there is a bracket inside over here. And if I type something, let's say I want to type a number here, I can just say 230 and pay attention to these brackets. So 230 is inside a set of brackets. If I add one more value, and then let's say 330, you can see there is a comma between these two values. Okay, so these two values are separate values. But how I'm going to access them? For example, I want to store read the value 330, or let's say I have another one 440. So I want to read the value 330 out of these three. So how am I going to do that? So in a list, each value is given a position number, and the position number starts with 0. So the value 230 inside the student name list is at position number 0. The value 330 is at position number 1, and then the value 440 is at position number 2. So by the help of their position number, I can extract or I can read a specific value from my list. So let's see this thing in action. How can we do this? So now I have a variable here, a student name. Let's change this to something else, maybe price. So I have the price of three products, 230, 330, and 440. And let's see how we can read this data by the help of a position number. So let me also declare a variable quickly. The name of this variable is, let's say, position. And I'll start this value at 0. And now let's have go to the design mode and let's have a label over here. All right, let's label name as price label, because I'm going to show the value of the price. All right, and then let's have a button. So what I'm trying to do is that whenever I click on the button, it shows me the value of the price. Okay, so let's go back to the code here, and then I bring one on event. Let's not change the ID of the button, let it be button 1. So whenever I click on button 1, I want the value of, let's say, item number 1, which is at position 0. So I'll just use the get text here. Sorry. Let's use the set text first of all, because I want to set the value inside my label. So that's the price label. And how I want to get this, I want to get the value from the text box. No, I want to get the value from, or we can simply write down the name of the variable also here. So how do we do that? So I'll say set text price label. Okay. And how do I want to put the value of the label, the price here, from the price list? That's where all the data is stored. But price has three values. Which value I want? I want the value which is at number 0. Okay. Now you can see it has automatically changed to my list variable type. So here I'm setting the text of the price label by getting the value from the list named price, and from which position? Position number 0. Okay, let's run this app and click on the button. And now you can see I have the value 230, which is at position 0. What if I change this to 1? So if I change this value to 1 and then I click on the run button, I've got the second value from the list, which is 330. Now, instead of putting this number here, 0, 1, and 2, I can actually also write down the name of the variable, and this variable has a value 0. Okay, so just guess which value will be displayed here. Let's find out. So if I click on the button, it says 230, and 230 is the value which is at position 0, because the current value of the position variable is 0. What if I change it to 2? So if I change it to 2, I'll be getting the value 440, which is at position number 2. Remember, the position number starts at 0. So 230 is position 0, 330 is position 1, and 440 is position 2. All right, let's see what happens if I put a position number 3 here. Now, understand that there is no position 3 in my price list because there are only 3 elements. So what happens if I give this position number 3? You get an error, and the error says that the text parameter value is not a UI string, which means that there is nothing at position number 3 on this inside this list variable. So if you give an incorrect position number, you are going to get an error message from your program. So that's how the list works. And there is one more important thing about the list, something that we are going to use later in our programs. There is a property of the list variables which helps us in finding out how many values are there in a list. Okay, so the name of that property is dot length, and here you can see. So what I'm going to do is, for now, I just remove this, and then I'll say price dot length. Okay, so what I'm doing is now inside this label, I'm showing the property of price dot length. So let's see what happens when I use price dot length. It gives me 3. Why it is giving me 3? Because there are 3 values in my list variable. What if I increase this value, add one more value to my list? Let's rerun the application. And now it is giving me 4. So I think you already understood now that the price dot length or the list name dot length property, it tells me how many values are there inside the list. Okay, and we can use this variable to make sure that we are not going beyond the last position number, and we do not get the error that we received on the in the previous case. There are some other useful blocks here which can be used for adding or removing the items into our list. So one of them is the append item. Okay, so let's take this block here, append item list, and the name of my list is actually price, so I'll change it to price. And after that, I just give a value 1000. Okay, and let me just use the set text again here. I'll just copy this block, paste it, just bring it after the append item. Okay, so first my program is starting with the 4 values, and I'm setting the text for this. Okay, and then I'm adding one more item, which is price, and the value is 1000, and then I'm again showing the value of the price dot length. So let's see what happens. So when I click on the button, it says 5. Why it is saying 5? Because there were 4 elements already. After that, I added one more item, so that makes the total number of items to 5, and that is why it is showing 5 here in the label. So what actually append item is, it will add a new item at the end of the list. Remember, always at the end of the list. That's why you can see this word here, END. Okay, so in this manner, I can add one item at the end of my list. Let's use this remove item block again. Now it is just opposite to the append item. It will remove the item from the list, but there is a difference that we can choose the position number from where the item must be deleted. Okay, so I'll say remove the item from the price list, and from where? From position number 2, which means that value number 440 will be deleted this time. Okay, and then let us just again show you the length of the price. So in the beginning, my price list was having 4 elements. After that, I added one item, which makes it 5. Then I removed one item, which makes it 4 items again. Okay, so my program should show 4 in the box this time. Yeah, and there it is. It's showing 4 only. So I started with 4 elements, then I added one, but then I removed one. So I'm back to 4 values again. So in this manner, you can remove an item from the list, and you can add an item at the end. And just like the remove item, we do also have an insert item. So we can specify the position where I want to add the value. So I can say add a new value to my price list, At which position number? At position number 3. And then I have to give what is the data, what value I want to store. Okay, that's what I will specify here. So I'll say that add 2000. So the first box here is the name of the list. The second one is the position number where I want to insert. And then the third one is the value. So what would happen is that where the value 3 was appearing earlier, which means where the 345 was, at that place 2000 will appear and 345 will shift towards the right. So 345 will become the element number 4. Remember, the existing value is pushed towards the right, never towards the left, because if the value is pushed towards the left, it would override the existing values. Okay, so a new item is added on the right hand side, and the values are pushed towards the right to accommodate the new value that I am inserting. And there are some more functions here, like you have the list.join. Okay, this list bracket is for accessing the list item. We have already seen this. And these are the blocks mainly which are used for working with the list variable. Okay, so this was all about the list variable type in the code.org app lab. Now in the next video, I'm going to show you how we can make a student information app by the help of the list variables. See you in the next video.